What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. We're here today to go over the balanced data slate that just dropped today, and we also got the Munitorum field manual with the points changes. Um, so there's been some big changes to some stuff, some other stuff just less slightly, but this paired with Pariah Nexus, I think, is going to really shake up the meta. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and pull up the data slate now. We'll just start with that. So with core rules stratagems, this affects a lot of army, and I think this is big. So first thing is modifying a stratagem CP cost. Rules that enable you to target a unit from your army with a stratagem for 0 CP, but that do not specify the name of the stratagem, like the Rites of Battle ability. Instead, reduce the CP cost of that use of that stratagem by 1. So if it doesn't specifically name what strat it's affecting, it's not free, it's just 1 less CP. Which for 1 CP strats is still free, but for like 2 CP strats it'd be 1. And then if a model has a rule that would once per battle increase the CP cost of an opponent's stratagem, like the Callous Assassin, that rule is replaced with the following ability. Lord of Deceit Aura. Each time your opponent targets a unit from your army with a stratagem, if that unit is within 12 inches of this model, increase the cost of that use of that stratagem by 1 CP. So this can affect any stratagem your opponent uses within 12 of you, but it forces you to put those units close to the enemy, which kind of really hurts the Calidus, because what you did was you up and down with her and used her to do like little secondary stuff. You didn't want her near stuff because she dies really easily. So I think this is a huge nerf to that. And then stratagems that can be used more than once per phase/turn. Parts of the rule that allow a player to use a stratagem even if they have already targeted another unit with that stratagem in the same phase can only be used if the name of the stratagem is specified in the rule. Similarly, if a stratagem is limited to 1 use per player turn, like Fire Overwatch, per battle round, or per battle, such part of that rule that can only be used if the name of the stratagem is specified in that rule. So this really, once again, limits what stratagems you can use for free. If the stratagem doesn't specifically list the name, or if the ability doesn't specifically list the name of a stratagem, then you can't use strats for free. So if you look at the updated Warhammer app, the Rites of Battle ability no longer has the 0 CP stratagem even listed on it. It just gives, or the redo a stratagem listed on it. It just has the free strat part, which, even though it doesn't say it on the sheet, is actually just reduced by 1 according to the core rules here. And then, so that's like Rites of Battle and other characters who have an ability like that really got a lot weaker, other than what other abilities and attacks and stuff they just naturally do. This part really got nerfed. And then stratagems that prevent units from being targeted. If a stratagem has an effect that says the target unit can only be selected as a target of a ranged attack, if the attacking model is within 12 inches or cannot be targeted by ranged attacks unless the attacking model is within 12 inches, like Hallowed and Soulfire, that effect is changed to say can only be selected as the target of an attack if the attacking model is within 18 inches. So basically, all the stratagems that made you not be targetable outside of 12 are now pushed to 18 inches. This just says stratagem, so I'm assuming low-nop abilities are not affected by this. But that does help a lot with a lot of stuff. So like your Phobos Librarian, stuff like that, is still able to, if you put him with infiltrators, deny 12-inch deep strike and deny 12-inch targeting. But if you're getting it from a stratagem, it's not as... I mean, it's still good, 18 inches still, but it's not as oppressive to your opponent. And then stratagems that add new units to your army. If a stratagem has effect adding a new unit to your army that is identical to your destroyed unit, join the hunt, unending waves, reinforcements, etc. At the end of add the following restriction: you can only use this stratagem once per battle. So people that so bringing units back is much more restricted. So it seems like they're really trying to rein in just spamming of certain stratagems and not having to spend CP than what you'd actually have to pay for your stratagems. But you'll also notice that lowering the CP cost and increasing the CP cost is not restricted to battle tactics anymore. It is now back to every stratagem, which I guess is fine and balanced now that they really restricted when and how much you can use these. So I think this is a major change to the game because a lot of armies had this ability and used it. So this really restricts you to using your certain key strats just once. Then we got rolling into the faction rules. Sisters, nothing changed with the rules. They just got a new codex. That's pretty much to be expected. Any changes they get will be in points. I would assume it'd be very similar with GSC. We got Custodes, Shield Host Attachment, Martial Mastery Detachment rule. You change the first paragraph to read at the start of the battle round. You can select one of the bullet points below. If you do until the start of the next battle round, that bullet point effects apply. So there's a slight change to the reading here. Just whatever you select, it'll apply. Its effects apply until your next turn. I'm guessing maybe it only applied for your turn or a phase before. So I'm guessing this extended the duration of this. And then the Auric Champions Attachment, Assemblage of Might Detachment rule. At the start of your command phase, select one unit from your opponent's army. Until the start of your command phase, each time a model in an Adeptus Code's character unit from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add one to the wound roll. So I'm guessing this was restricted just to Adeptus Custodes characters before. Now this extends to any unit they joined, which is a pretty big change. Next, we roll into Adeptus Mechanicus. So their army rule, Doctrina Imperatives army rule, Protector Imperative, and Conqueror Imperative. Change to Protector Imperative. So the first point stays the same. The next point, improve the ballistic skill characteristics of ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit by 1. And the third point to each time a melee attack targets this unit, if this unit has the battle line keyword and or it is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Adeptus Mechanicus battle line units, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So I'm not sure how this read before, but they are changing these, and I'm assuming the battle line is part of the change since they're really emphasizing battle line in Pariah Nexus, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Conquer Imperative, same thing. First stays the same. Second battle point, you improve the weapon skill by 1. And then each time a model with this unit makes an attack, if this unit has battle line keyword or is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Adeptus Mechanicus battle line units, improve the AP of the attack by 1. All right, so just so you can improve the AP and the ballistic skill. I'm not sure, honestly, what changed there, but that is a change. And then the add faction Doctrine Imperatives to the ability section of the following data sheets: Belerius Call, Electro Priest, the Corpuscari and the Fulgurite, Tech Priest Dominus, Tech Priest Engine Seer, Tech Priest Manipulus, and Techno Archaeologist. So I'm guessing that's what this is here, Doctrine Imperatives. Yep, so there, all these are gaining that. So maybe that's part of the change is to word it so that it actually affects them where maybe it didn't before. Call movement is changed to 8 inches. Mantra of Discipline ability, change the mantra discipline to this model has the battle line keyword and has the following ability. Binaric Courage, an aura, while a friendly Adeptus Mechanicus unit is within 6 inches of this model. Each time you take a battle shock or leadership test for that unit, add 1 to the test. So this ability gives battle line to whoever has it, and then you get the aura off of it. So then Iron Strider Ballistari, looks like they gain sustained hit 1s on their autocannon and las cannons, and their attacks go to 4 and 2. I'm wondering if they were twin linked and had 2 and 1 before, or what the change is there. I'm not 100% sure what they changed here, but they do gain sustained hits 1 now, and lose any other ability that was there before if they had a different ability. Then the Scorpius Disintegrator goes to damage D6 plus 1. The Sicarian Infiltrator melee weapons. The power weapon goes to 3 attacks. The Taser Goad goes to 3 attacks. So there's a lot of just changes to Adeptus Mechanicus. Sicarian Ruststalkers melee weapons. The Transonic Blades get 5 attacks. With the Cord Claw, they also get 5 attacks. And they're at Strength 5. And the Razor and the Transonic Razor and Cord Claw is 4 attacks at Strength 5. The Dune Crawler's ranged weapons. I don't see anything red here, so I'm guessing that stayed the same. The Eradication Beamer goes to 2d3 attacks for both versions. The Neutron Laser gains heavy. It's 3 attacks and d6 plus 2 damage now. And the Heavy Phosphor Blaster is 12 attacks. All right, Aldari. The Strands of Fate. Once again, getting a little change to it. It is going to rolling 6d6. The Battle Host attachment, Aldari model only, once per turn, just after making a hit roll, a wound roll, or saving roll for the Bearer. So this is restricted to the Bearer now only. A Phantasm can only target infantry, and they can make a move of up to d6 inches. So that's honestly a big change. That was a really annoying stratagem to deal with. But now you're not sure how far you're moving with that, and it only affects infantry. Eldrad still adds the +3, but now it goes to 9 instead of whatever the number would have been. Then you got the Night Spinner, Monofilament Web ability. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, if one or more of those attacks made with its Doomweaver scored a hit against an enemy unit, that enemy unit is pinned until the end of your opponent's next turn. While a unit is pinned, subtract 2 from its movement characteristic and subtract 2 from advance and charge rolls made for it. I believe this was halved before. So depending on what the movement of your unit is, a lot of times this is a lot less oppressive. Then you got the Incarn Inevitable Death ability is restricted to once in each of your turns. So you don't get to pop around during your opponent's turn when they kill stuff. So this is a big nerf to the Incarn. That was one of the things that made her so difficult. Is if you wanted to kill her, you had to make sure you didn't kill anything else before you killed her. So if you were planning on charging her, you really couldn't kill anything in the shooting phase, or she'd just warp away. So I really like that change as a non-Eldar player. Wraithguard War Construct ability. Once per battle round, when an enemy unit targets this unit, after that unit has finished making its attacks, this unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase. When doing so, it must target only that enemy unit, and you can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. All right, so they can shoot as if you're shooting phase, but they must shoot the unit that shot them. That's a big change. That's really changes how people use them. Then Agents of the Imperium, Exaction Squad's getting another change. 1 Proctor, 9 Exaction Vigilance, so you have to take a 10-man. Change the first bullet point to up to 2 Exaction Vigilance can each have their Arbeit's shotgun replaced with one of the following. So just messing with their warger options a little bit. Then Guard, Voice of Command Army rule. If your army faction is Astra Militarum, officer models with this ability can issue orders. I'm wondering if, I guess, there was some way to issue orders with people who weren't officers before, and they're fixing that. Each officer's data sheet will specify how many orders it can issue, which units are eligible to receive those orders. Each time an officer model issues an order, select one of the orders below, then select one eligible friendly unit within 6 of that officer model to issue it. Officer models can issue orders in your command phase and at the end of the phase in which they disembark from a transport or were set up on the battlefield. All right, so you can get out of a transport or come in from reserve and still issue your orders. So that's really nice for Guard or Astra Militarum. Then Command Regiment Detachment, Born Soldiers Detachment rule, change to each time a model in a regiment unit from your army makes a ranged attack that targets a visible unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, that attack has the lethal hits ability. And then each time a model in a squadron unit from your army makes a ranged attack that targets a visible monster or physical unit, that attack has the lethal hits. All right, so Regiment gets lethal hits against non-monster vehicles, and Squadron gets lethal hits against monsters and vehicles. Pretty simple there. Squadron, I'm assuming, are vehicles. Regiment are infantry, so that makes pretty good sense. Black Templars, their Impulsor goes to 7 Tacticus models, so you can put a 6-man Blade Guard and a character in it now. That's really nice. I wish they would do that for all Marines. Black Templar Repulsor Transport Section. This model has a transport capacity of 14 Adeptus Astartes infantry. All right, so just both their changes to the Repulsor. So it goes to 7 Tacticus and 14 Adeptus Astartes. Oh, Repulsor, Impulsor. Okay. I was like, that didn't make sense for a second. All right, so yeah, Repulsor and Impulsor. They both get increased storage capacity for stuff. Guys. Then Sons of Sanguinius detachment, the Red Thirst detachment rule. Each time a Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to fight, if that unit made a charge move this turn, until the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristics and add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. All right, so there's a slight tweak to their detachment rule. I don't think that's super major. Then Chaos Knight, super heavy walker ability. Each time model with this ability makes a normal, advance, or fallback move, it can move through models, excluding Titanic, and sections of terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height. When doing so, it can move within engagement range of any models, but cannot end move within engagement range of them. It can also move through sections of terrain features that are more than 4 inches in height, but it does, after it has moved, roll 1d6. On a 1, that model is battle shocked. So it can move through terrain more than 4. So it's really, this looks like they can move through any terrain, but they have to risk getting battle shocked. If that's true, that is a major change for Knights. Because one of their biggest issues was getting move blocked. You just fill the alleys and they can't go through the big terrain. But if they're able to just walk through the big terrain, that could be a really big change. I mean, it's still hard. They have such wide bases and the terrain's so wide, they do still have to clear it, I believe. So it won't always let them get through, but they have more choices now. Cast Marines Warp Talons. At the end of the fight phase, if this unit's destroyed one or more enemy units this phase, and it's not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you could remove this unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. That's big because the one detachment, I can't remember if it was Renegade Raiders or Pack Down, one of those allowed the Warp Talons to use a strat to fall back. So they could charge, not kill you, fall back, and then still disappear. Now they actually have to destroy an enemy unit. So then we got Chaos Demons. The Shadow of Chaos army rule, Demonic Terror. Well, enemy units within your army's Shadow of Chaos and or it is within 6 inches of one or more Bloodthirster, Great Unclean One, Kairos Fate Weaver, Keeper of Secrets, Lord of Change, Rodigus, Shalexi, Hellbane, or Scarbrand units from your army. Each time that unit takes a battle shock test, subtract 1 from that test, and if it has failed, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. All right, so now this doesn't just affect people within range of shadows, it affects range of people within range of greater demons. Demonic Pact, add an additional paragraph. In addition, for each of the following keywords, the number of non-battle line units with that keyword you include in this way cannot be greater than the number of battle line units with that keyword you include in this way. All right, so you have to include at least an equal number of battle line and non-battle line. You can include more battle line, but you can't include more battle line than battle line. All right, then Demonic Incursion Detachment, Warp Rifts Detachment Rule. Each time a Legion's Demonica unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike ability, is set up wholly within your army's Shadow of Chaos, and or it is set up wholly within 6 inches of one or more friendly Greater Demons. So this one, once more, is affecting Greater Demon units. And units with which is shared. So yeah, so Khorne units can come in within the Bloodthirster or Scarbrand. Nurgle units can come in with Rodigus or Great Unclean One, and so on. Set up anywhere that is more than 6 inches horizontally away from all enemy models, instead of more than 9. Yeah, so just once again, same as the other thing, your shadows for certain things also extends from your greater demons. Bloodthirster and Scarbrand abilities. Greater Demon or Khorne aura. While a friendly Khorne leads a demonic unit within 6 inches of this model that's using your shadow. Grand Clan of Radagast will do that for Nurgle. Kairos and Lord of Change will do that for Tzeentch. And Keeper Stevens actually will do it for Slaanesh. All right, so once again, yeah, your shadows goes off of your greater demons for models with the same god. All right, so there's a lot of stuff in here that really changes how some of these armies play. Next up, we got Dark Angels with the Unforgiven Task Force detachment. In your command phase, select one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, add one to the objective control characters or models in that unit. All right, so you can give one of your units an extra OC. I'm not sure if that gave the whole army that before, or if it just... I thought it did, but I'm not 100% sure. But now you can choose one unit and give an extra OC. Inner Circle Task Force detachment. At the start of your movement phase, select one of the following. Defensive Footing. Select one objective marker you control until the start of your next movement phase. That objective marker is your vowed objective marker. And then Aggressive Push. Select one more objective markers you do not control. Until the start of your next movement phase, each of those objective markers is one of your vowed objective markers. If a rule refers to a unit or model being within range of your vowed objective marker, that rule takes effect if that unit or model is within range of one or more of your vowed objective markers. This is just changing a little bit how your vowed objectives do for benefiting with your other rules. Then each time a Deathwing infantry unit from your army makes an attack that targets a unit within range of one or more of your vowed objective markers, add one to the wound roll. So Deathwing will get +1 to wound. So you can choose one you're on or one you want to go get. That's pretty nice. Deathwing Knights, their Mace of Absolution gains anti-monster 4+, and anti-vehicle 4+, and an AP of 2. And then the power weapon goes to damage 2. All right, pretty straightforward changes there. Calibite Greatsword, the strike goes to AP 2, and the sweep goes to 5 attacks and AP 2. So you only gain 1 extra attack for the sweep, but it goes to sustained hits 2. The Death Guard Plague Company detachment. Let's see what changes here. Enemy units with Contagion Radiant will have their characteristics modified. Alright, I'm not sure what that wording really changes. Because it was already worsening. And so now the enemy unit with Contagion will have their characteristics modified. Weren't they already getting modified? I'm guessing there's some weird wording or rules interaction somewhere that caused some argument, and this supposedly should clear it up. Feel free to let me know what that is. But the way I read this before, and as far as I know, the way everyone played it, this already reduced your characteristic. And then the Biologist Putrefier Explosive Maladies ability. Once per battle round, you can target one unit from your army with this ability with the Grenade Stratagem for 0 CP. Alright, so it'll let you do the Grenade Strat for 0 CP. I'm not sure what that worded before, if it was more like some of the other ones where it could do on other stratagems as well, and now they're limited it just to grenades. But once again, there's another change to stratagems and CPs, and so that was something they identified as a problem with the game that they wanted to modify. Next up, we got Deathwatch, Dragon Round Stratagem. To then phase bolt weapons equipped by models or unit have the assault. So let's change all these to say bolt weapon. All the Hellfire, Kraken, Dragonfire all say bolt weapon now, and then they list what are bolt weapons here. I'm guessing it affected some weapons that weren't bolt weapons before. All right, so that's a pretty simple change. Drukhari, power from pain armor roll, empowered through pain. Each time it makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll, and if it is a melee attack, improve the AP character's attack by 1. So just get an extra AP on your melee attacks when using this. And then Archon Leader, model can be attached to the following units. The Archon can now join Incubi. Change to the Cult's none, which we assumed since their codex was brand new. Grey Knights, Vortex of Doom. Basically, you can't use it to hit lone ops that are more than 12 inches away. Pretty simple, makes sense. No sniping lone ops with Vortex of Doom outside of 12 inches. Heavy Psy Cannon gains Ignore Cover. Nemesis Demon Hammer goes to Weapon Skill 3. Nemesis Greatsword goes to Weapon Skill 2 for both of its attacks. Coach Revolver Army Roll, Lalo the Tyrant. Chain the Oath ability to each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll and you can reroll 1 wound roll. I believe you had to choose one or the other before. Now you get both, so that's a nice buff for them. Bondsman, the armor model you selected is affected by that Bondsman ability until the start of your next the armature model you selected. All right, yeah. So this is just clarifying that it only affecting the armature, I believe. Super Heavy Walkers. Each time this model with this ability makes this is the same as when we saw for Chaos Knights. They can move over heavier, bigger terrain, and they can move through engagement range without ending engagement range. That's the same as the Chaos Knight version. Double Lance Detachment. Trophy Claim went to 2 CP. Valiant Last Stand went to 2 CP. Leagues of Votan. Ruthless Efficiency Detachment. At the start of the battle, select a number of units from your opponent's army, depending on the battle size as shown below. Onslaught went to 6 units. Incursion Strikes Force stay the same. Each of those units starts the battle with 2 Judgment Tokens. If at the start of any of your command phase, any of those units have been destroyed, you get a number of CP depending on how early in the battle you destroyed them. So if any of those units. All right. So I wonder if you had to... I haven't played Leagues in so long. So some slight changes here to that rule. I'm not sure how major any of that is. Hypercrypt Legion Detachment. Target 1 Necro unit from your army, excluding monster. So this excludes monster units now. That's the only change to that, it looks like. Orcs. Oh, here's some big changes. Green Tide Detachment. Each time an attack targets a boys unit in your army, models in that unit have a 6-up invulnerable save against that attack. Each time attack targets a boys unit from your army that contains 10 or more models, models in the unit have a 5+ invul save against that attack. Alright, so you just get a 6-up invul, and if you have 10 or more models, you get a 5+ invul. And then Tide of Muscle Strat. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit declares a charge, add 1 to the charge roll. And if your unit contains 10 or more models, you can re-roll the charge roll. So so far, just slight tweaks to the stratagems. Go get them. The last sentence is changed to you can re-roll the d6 to determine how far your unit can move if your unit contains 10 or more models. So if your unit contains 10 or more models, you can re-roll the d6 to determine how far your unit can move. All right, and then we got Big Knob's Crumpet Time ability. Goes to a 5-up Feel No Pain. All right, so just some tweaks to the stratagems. No real... well, that's the tweak to the detachment rule and then tweak to some stratagems. Then the Space Marines Iron Storm Spearhead Detachment. Target Ori Web Enhancement. Delete Aura from this enhancement and change Tech Marine model only. In your command phase, select one adept to start his vehicle model within 6 of the bearer. Until the start of your next command phase, weapon equipped with the vehicle have lethal hits. All right, so it's no longer an order. Aura only goes on attack marine, and now you select a unit to get the lethal hits. Master Machine, delete Aura. In your command phase, select one to start vehicle model within 6 of the bearer until the start of your next command phase. The vehicle able to shoot, even if fell back or advanced. All right, so they're stopping these from being auras. They're limiting you to 1 vehicle per. Mercy's Weakness goes to 2 CP. The Desolation Squad consists of 1 to 4 Desolation Marines. So no more pumping them up to a 10-man. You can only run 5. I haven't seen Desolations really on the table in a while since the other nerfs, so I don't know where they were a problem that they needed to get touched, but they did. Impulsors. All right, so the Impulsor and Repulsor for Space Marines also gain the 7 and 14. Really like that change. Champion the Rush. So as anyone who follows this channel know, I'm a major Space Wolf player. So you get to choose one of the auras or one of the sagas to auto be achieved at the start of the first battle round. So you actually do get to start with the benefit, which was one of my major complaints about the sagas before, is you could take 2 to 3 turns before you had any benefits from the detachment. You can't choose Saga of Majesty, but that's fine. And then at the end of each player's turn, usually battle round, you can select one of the sagas listed below, excluding the saga you selected at the start of the battle round, first battle round, which why would you select one you already achieved? So if that saga was completed by your army during that turn, all Adeptus starting models of your army gain the associated benefit until the end of the battle round. That's the same. So this one, if you destroyed one of my enemy characters during that turn, I guess maybe you could do it before if you'd have done it earlier in the game. Saga Majesty. So this changed a bunch of these say that turn instead of, maybe it said that round before. So this makes you choose. So you can't do both things on your turn and activate one at the end of your turn and one at the end of the opponent's turn, even if they're the same round. All right, so that's fine. So these just changed to turn, but you are able to activate per turn. So I think that's a fine change for that. Same with Beast Slayer, just changes it to that turn. That is a big buff for Champions of Roughs. I don't know, especially the way I like to play Wolves, if it makes it worth dropping Stormlance or anything else for at the time, but it does definitely helps people who like to run that detachment. They definitely have a big bonus now. Thousand Suns has Cabal of Sorcerer's Army roll. Change the last sentence of the first paragraph to each time use a ritual. Select 1,000 Sun Psyker model from your army, excluding models that have already been selected for this rules this turn. Then apply the ritual effect using that Psyker. So you can't double up. I guess people were trying to double up on the same selection. Twist of Fate. Use this ritual to start your shooting phase. Select one unit within 18 inches invisible to the Psyker. To the end of the phase, each time a 1,000 Suns model from your army makes a ranged attack that targets that unit, improve the AP by 2. All right, so they changed this to start of your shooting phase when maybe it was any time in the shooting phase before. So it's changing the order things have to be done in, and then just changing the wording here, and you get AP 2. Doombolt. Use this ritual to start of your shooting phase. Select one enemy unit within 18 invisible to the Psyker, excluding units with lone op ability that are not part of an attached unit and are not within 12 of the Psyker. And then, all right, and then they specify that enemy unit. So just maybe there was some ambiguous wording people were playing around with there. And once again, they were trying to use psychic abilities to snipe lone ops. So some of these are just consistent changes trying to affect the way certain things affect the game. Temporal Surge. The same unit cannot be selected with a ritual more than once per phase. Yeah, so just once again, people were trying to double up on abilities on stuff. That makes sense, restricting that. Then data sheets, Exalted Sorcerer on Disc, Binding Tendrils ability. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, hit by one or more of those attacks made with its arcane fire. Till the start of your next turn, enemy unit is pinned. While the unit is pinned, subtract 2 from its move and 2 from charge rolls. All right, so it can't affect monster vehicles and it's subtract 2. I wonder if this was halved before. We saw another ability earlier that got changed like this. So I believe they're just trying to restrict some of the movement shenanigans you're putting on people, because sub-armies have really low movement, and that is really oppressive to them. So then we're rolling the Tyranids, Synapse. So while a Tyranid unit from your army is within Synapse range of your army, each unit takes a Battle Shock test. The test is on 3d6 instead of 2d6. Each time a model on that unit makes the melee attack, add 1 to the strength of that attack. All right, so just 3d6 Battle Shock and add 1 to the strength characteristics. And since you want to roll high on Battle Shock now, this is pretty nice. Shadow in the Warp army rule. Each time a unit takes such a Battle Shock test, if it is within 6 inches of one or more Synapse units from your army, subtract 1 from that test. All right, so when you force everybody to take the army-wide Battle Shock, if you have Synapse units near them, you make -1, to makes it a little more likely for them to fail that check. Crusher Stampede. Engaged Behemoth Detachment rule has the change. In addition, will a Tyranid monster unit from your army, excluding battle flock units, that is starting strength, add to the OC of models in that unit. So plus 2 OC to Tyranid monsters who are not battle shocked. And add its starting strength. Haven't taken any wounds yet. That's a decent buff. It's not too hard to do 1 wound to a Tyranid monster if you need to get rid of that extra OC. But it forces you to possibly have to shoot at something you know you can't kill and take targets away from them to try to get an objective. So that's a nice little change. We'll see how big that is for them. I could see situations where that could be, but I can also see situations where it really doesn't matter that much. So I'm not sure how good that actually will end up being. Then we got Untrammeled Ferocity Stratagem. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a normal, advance, or fallback move, it can move through models, excluding Titanic, and sections terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height. When doing so, it can move within engagement range. Also, this is the same as what the Knights got. They can go through, but not in an engagement range, and they can move over things more than 4 inches, but they have to take a battle shock test. And on a 1, or take a roll a d6, and on a 1, they're battle shocked. Then we got the Hive Tyrant's Onslaught ability. Add lethal hits abilities. All right, so just add so in just assault, they actually get lethal hits too. Neurolictor gains Synapse. Neurotyrant leader section, he can now join Zonethropes. Broodlord, faction, Shadow in the Warp, and Synapse. So that's for the Broodlord and the Parasite. I guess they were missing these words, which they should have had. Moloch, Ravengers, and Trigon gain the Vanguard Invader. Exocrine is Strength 9 now. Tyrannifex is D6 plus 6 damage. Berserker Warband attachment for World Eaters. Berserker Glaive enhancement. World Eaters model only. Add 1 to the attacks and damage characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the bearer. And then Favorite of Corn detachment, or Favorite of Corn enhancement. World Eaters model only once per battle. So it's changed that to once per battle. And then World Eaters Demon Prince, Infernal Fortitude. They change the invul to a 5-up, and unless they already have an invulnerable save, in which case they have a 4-up invul save. All right. Well, a friendly Warlord's unit. All right, so within 6 inches of your Demon Prince, they gain a 5-up invul, and if they already have one, it goes to a 4. And that looks like it. So there's some really big changes in there. That's so that's really a lot of that's going to really change the way some of these armies play. And then that, in addition with the points and the new cards, we're going to have a whole new meta here in the next couple weeks. Heading into ATC, this is going to be a lot to figure out, especially those of us who didn't have pre-advanced copies of everything. So let's just roll down here and look at the points changes. So Sisters. All right, so the Blade of St. Eleanor is 15 points. That's orange. So it looks like it's something that was possibly... Oh, no, that went up, and Litanies of Faith went down. But other than that, wow, there is more than half of their units went up in points. 2/3 maybe. Most of this army went up in points. No drops. Everything went up. So that's going to be huge for Sisters. Like, that's a lot to get into. So they're going to, every 2,000 point army is going to probably lose like 2 to 3 units. Custodes, got some Custodians going down in points. Guard going down in points. Grav Tank, Telemon, Vitari, Shield Host, the Celamark went down in points. No raises here, so just some point drops for Custodes. So depending on what people are running, Draelus actually gains points, no losses there. So that's nice for Custodes. AdMech. We got the Hunter cohort had a enhancement go down. Other than that, this is once again 2/3 or so of the army going up. And there was a huge change to on the data slate for them. So it looks like Adeptus Mechanicus is going to be the biggest change between rules and points. They really got hit. Then we got Titanicus, no changes. Aldari, Armand, Chainsaw, Corandris, Muggenroth. So all the Phoenix Lords went down, it looked like. Void Weaver, Viper went down. Warp Spiders went up. Dark Reapers went up. Skyweavers went up. Fire Dragon, Swooping Hawks, and Yvrain went up. Wraith Lord went down. So I know a lot of people ran Swooping Hawks, Warp Spiders, Fire Dragon. So this is either change what units people bring, or they're going to lose a unit or two out of their army here if they're trying to stick with the same builds. Forge World, Shadow Specters, once again another Eldar nerf there. Shadow Specters went up. I know a lot of people liked running them. Agents of the Imperium, I see 0 points changes. The Calidus got her rules nerfed in the data slate, so I'm surprised to see she didn't go down slightly, because I really don't think people are going to run her now at 100 points. I know I certainly dropped her out of my list. Astra Militarum, Sentinels, Basilisk, Casterkin, Rogaldorn Battle Tank all went down. Manticore and Deathstrike went down. Field Ordnance went down. So no raises for Militarum, just a few drops. Yep, so nothing changed here. So yeah, just drops for Astra Militarum. Templars, Gladiator Reaper and Gladiator Variant. Or sorry, Gladiator Reaper and Gladiator Valiant both went up. I believe 10 points. Blood Angels, nothing. Demons, Be'lakor and Bloodthirster went down. Skull Cannon, Soul Grinder, Nurglings, Plague Drones, just down. Everything down for, not everything, but only downward changes for Demons, no point increases. Same thing for Chaos Knights. Just point drops. Chaos Marines, Cursed Cultists, Havocs, Venom Crawler, Warp Talons, Legionnaires, Predator Annihilator, Predator Destructor, Chaos Vindicator, Raptors. So if you watched our Building a Chaos lists and Chaos Detachments, a lot of these Venom Crawlers, Warp Talons, Cursed Cultists, Predator Annihilator, Legionnaires, Vindicator, Raptors, all units Nick was high on, talking about how great they were, all got points increases. Dark Angels, Deathwing Knights, and Darkshroud went up. Knights got some buffs in the data slate, but then their points went up as well, so that I believe is fine. Death Guard, Putrefier went up. Blight Lords went down. Blight Spawn went up. Plague Surgeon went down. Blight Haulers and Noxious Blight Bringer went down. Death Watch, Veterans, Watch Captain, Watch Master, all went down. Drukhari, Scourges, 5-man model went up, 10-man model went down. Grotesques went down, Ravager went down. Gene Stealers, Pure Strain, Ridge Runners, Hybrid went down. These, some changes in points to enhancements, some up, some down. Acolytes, Jackals, Biophages, Clemavis went up, Rock Grinder down. Alphys, Calamorph up, Locust Magus down. Nexus, Patriarch, Primus down. Up. Alright. So most of the units in the Genestealer cult got changes. Some up. Most up, a few down. Grey Knights, Crow went up. Grandmaster Dread Knight went up. Nemesis Dread Knight went up. Storm Raven went up. Redeemer went up. Crusader went down. So, Imperial Knights, Paladin down. Trapos down. Lancer. So only down for Imperial Knights. Votan, no changes. There was a slight change to the detachment rule, but Votan mostly are untouched. Necrons, Doomstalker, Wraiths up. That looks like it for Necrons. Orcs, Meganobs, Snickrot, and Weird Boys up. Pain Boss, Pain Boy up. And then there's a few changes to their data slate. Enhancements the same for Orcs. Marines. Let's see. Crusader down, Redeemer up, Reaper and Valiant up. So this is the same as the Grey Knights here. This is the same as the Templars there. So pretty consistent. Repulsor down. So it gained capacity and then went down. Interesting. Ironstorm Spearhead. Two of the enhancements went down. The Storm Raven went up. Space Wolves, Wolfen, and Thunderwolves went up. That I was expecting that. So about 20 points per 6-man squad. Then Tau, Battlesuit. Most of their battlesuits went down in points. Strike teams went down in points. Hammerhead went up. Overall, I think that's a good quality of life change for Tau. Thousand Suns, Sorcerer, Beast, Terminators down. That's it. So a couple units went down, nothing major there. Tyranids, Biovores, and Spores went down with the changes to way missions play. The fact that they can't score the way they were scoring, I think that makes a lot of sense. Neurolictor went up. Ripper Swarms, 3 models went down to 50 points, and now you have the option to take 1 model for 25, which I don't believe was an option before, but I could be wrong about that. Tervigon went down, so I think overall that's good for NIDS. Got an enhancement that went down for them. World Eaters, 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound went down. That's really nice for them. I know those are units people really like to run. So they're not like obscure units that weren't being taken, which is what normally gets dropped. So you have like some core units to the army getting drops. So that should help pretty much every main World Eater list out there. So overall, some big data slate changes. Points weren't crazy except for Sisters and AdMech. Just got tons of changes. Most other places didn't get hit too hard one way or the other. So I don't think points are really changed them that much. It'll be more the cards, new cards, a lot of the new data slate changes are what's going to affect the gameplay and possibly how you want to build these lists, with the possibility of Battle Line taking a more important role in lists, with if tournaments are going to be running the mission special rules that give the benefits to Battle Line for doing actions and stuff. So I think this is overall a good change for the game. I know certain people whose armies, like Sisters and AdMech, got really hit are going to be unhappy about it, but I believe it is good for the health of the game. But we'll see how it plays out in the next couple weeks or months, paired in with the new cards, which, speaking of new cards, should hopefully have my hands on mine Saturday. And so rolling into next week, I'll be doing some reviews on the new deployments, the new missions, all that stuff. But once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us here on Almost Functional. Feel free to like and subscribe. That really helps get the channel out to other people and helps me to just have the motivation to do more content, as I know people is watching and actually enjoy the content. But thank you, and we'll see you next time.